2023 is officially Disney's worst year in terms of box office revenue. Just recently, the Marvels had the worst opening for the MCU, only earning $47 million compared to the budget of the movie, which was $275 million. And Wish just cemented its spot as one of Disney's worst opening weekends for an animated movie ever, earning less than half of what the Marvels did. This problem is so bad that Bob Iger, Disney's CEO, has publicly stated his displeasure with the company's creators, stating that they have, quote, lost sight of what their number one objective needed to be: storytelling. People have been complaining about Disney's agenda pushing for decades, but it's never really been enough to push these executives to make a major change. But I think it's safe to say that Disney has now hit an all-time low of lazy and contrived writing mixed with cliches that would make, well, me cry. And it's gotten to the point where audiences, politically spiteful of Disney or not, are just not willing to pay to go watch their movies in theaters anymore. I mean, how many times can you watch an hour-and-a-half movie about a quirky, strong-willed young girl learning that she isn't what society tells her she is, and fighting to break her shackles of quiet desperation so she can realize her true potential? I think it's worth noting that this epidemic of terrible writing is not just limited to the strong female archetype, or even just to Disney itself. However, Disney has exclusively used this specific formula for the past decade or so for most, if not all, of their major releases, and it's getting boring. One specific issue that seems to be gaining more popularity amongst Disney's writers is their insistence on making characters feel less and less human, making it harder to care about them at all. Characters today often feel more like stepping stones towards some message that's being forced onto the viewer instead of representing actual beings whom we can empathize with during their struggles and celebrate with during their victories. We all know how hard it is to be human, and seeing others on screen going through aspects of this normal human struggle is often what makes a movie interesting to watch. As humans, we're programmed to root for others' successes because if we believe that they can do it, then we're going to believe that we can do it in our own battles. And it's a very normal part of the human experience to try and fail and try and fail and keep doing that until you eventually succeed. Because to achieve greatness, you have to struggle. In the real world, you can't just all of a sudden realize that the power was within you all along. Because it's not. We have to earn our strength through learning and experiencing different ways of acting and thinking that will eventually allow us to reach our desired goals. They captured this idea so perfectly in The Princess and the Frog, which came out all the way back in 2009.
You wish and you dream with all your little heart. But you remember, Tiana, that old star can only take you part of the way. You gotta help it along with some hard work of your own, and then, yeah, you can do anything you set your mind to.
But for some reason, recently, Disney has started throwing around the idea that you can gain all the power in the world just by deciding that you feel like it. Which honestly, on its own, isn't the worst idea for a compelling kids movie. DreamWorks used the same idea beautifully in Kung Fu Panda.
Skadoosh.
But Disney's writers can't seem to come up with a new idea to save their lives. When you repeat the same message over and over and over again, not only does it just become a snooze fest, it becomes a terrible message for kids that just gets drilled into their heads. The seemingly innocent theme of believe in yourself morphs into the terrible lesson that is, you don't have to try very hard to do anything remarkable. This is what creates unrealistic expectations in children's heads that one day will lead them towards depression once they realize that life is not a Disney movie. The people need new ideas. Another hot button issue that's come to light more recently comes as a result of all the new female superheroes we're starting to see since Disney just bought out Marvel not that long ago. Don't get me wrong, I think having more women being portrayed in media today is a great step in the right direction. But unfortunately, these male writers haven't quite yet figured out how to write a realistic woman. They take their fear of being misogynistic and sexist too far and end up being too afraid to write a woman with any sign of weakness. This just makes it seem like their only purpose is to send the message that we can do cool boy stuff too. If you write these superhero characters to be such stoic, self-centered know-it-alls, it kind of negates their superhero persona altogether by making them feel shallow and out of touch with their purpose. And when writers don't allow for any meaningful progression to happen with their heroines either, it makes them feel one-dimensional and forgettable. Unless you're writing a show like The Boys, where the heroes are specifically designed to be hateable. But as far as I know, I mean, no Disney movie character hero is supposed to be hateable. That just happens by accident. Another thing that Disney has done to bother me recently is making protagonists who are all-powerful beings who can take down anyone and who have full control over their powers without earning it. Specifically, I have a problem when they don't even try giving them a backstory that has some meaningful reasons as to why they eventually turn out to be as powerful and well-trained as they are. Ideally, you'd show them morph as a result of their hardships or life circumstances, or as they learn from people who are wiser than they are. Yet again, another franchise bought out by Disney. The Star Wars sequel movies are a prime example of showing characters who can do way more than they should be able to with little to no explanation. Like here, where Rey Skywalker Patine heals Kylo Ren with her Force powers. Nobody else can do this in the whole franchise, and magically she's able to. I didn't teach her that. I don't know where she learned that. Or here, where Princess Leia just starts randomly force flying through space right as she's about to die. So not only is it important to write characters who have a good backstory, but also you've got to at least try and stick with the rules of an already fleshed out and very established universe. You can't just give random powers to people when it's convenient for the plot, or you start making John Bosco sleepy time. The original animated Mulan from 1998 is one of my favorite Disney movies because it takes the same ideas that these other movies fail to properly touch on, such as being a strong female and not submitting to what society tells you have to be, and shows them in a very realistic and relatable way. The movie constantly reminds the audience that you don't need to be the biggest person in the room to be the strongest person in the room, which is a solid message that is very applicable in the real world. They lose me when they try to make the opposite point, that women have to be shown as equally physically strong as men because they think that's the only metric people care about. Not a Disney movie here, but as an example, in The Woman King, when I see a 5'5", nearly 60-year-old Viola Davis get rocked in the face 5 times full force by a 6 foot, 200-pound, 36-year-old Jimmy Odukoya and still win the fight, my BS meter flies off the charts. But I digress. The original Mulan does it so much better, starting us off by showing Mulan as a bride in training in ancient China, but when she realizes she'll never be the perfect bride, she sneakily steals her father's place in a male-only draft because of his injuries and old age, saving his life. She uses her creativity, wit, and determination to outshine all of the other soldiers in the army, including even the leader of the enemies. This only happens because failure after failure, she realizes that her brain is her strength, not her physical prowess, and she capitalizes on that through acts of true bravery and quick thinking as the story goes on. The new Mulan right off the bat shows an already fully physically capable Mulan who has no use for her feeble brain because she can just punch and kick all of her problems away. Now you tell me, does that sound like a compelling story to you? I didn't think so. And the new one doesn't have Mushu in it, so bad movie. I love Disney and I want to see them make more generation-defining movies, but they're not going to do it by focusing on cheap virtue signaling over the characters and worlds that they're setting out to build. After all, we come to this place for magic. We come to the movies to laugh, to cry, to care. Because we need that. All of us. And if we don't do any of those things, then the writers have failed at making a meaningful movie. But that sentiment alone won't end up making Disney make more good movies. Because at the end of the day, they're a business. So luckily enough, people not showing up for their crap anymore has officially made their pockets empty enough so that they've started to finally look to make a change. I hope this video may have helped put into words some of the frustrations of many people out there who love Disney just as much as I do. I doubt anyone from Disney is watching this, but if you are, I hope that this video serves as a reminder that the community cares. That this dip in revenue at its core is a show of love and appreciation for all of the classic movies that focused more on deep characters inside rich worlds with their messages being lovingly tucked in the background. All of this with the hope that one day you might be able to recapture that Disney magic that we all know is still out there. John Boss out.